What's up everybody, it's Jeremy here from Ocean Bound, and today I'm excited to talk about the Cedrus Evolution WIND mast. I've had this mast for over 3 months now, and I've used it in almost every session, including parawinging, downwinding, flat water paddling, foil supping waves, winging, and all sorts of conditions like flat water, waves, from light wind to totally powered riding. And I'm stoked to finally be here to give you a review on this, so let's just jump right in. For any of you guys that don't know anything about the Cedrus mast, it's a third-party, high-quality, durable, carbon fiber, universal mast that's designed to have adapters so that you can basically use any major foil system with it. So whether it's kiting, winging, prone, or downwind, if you're planning on being a foiler for the long haul, it's definitely an intriguing investment. So let's start with the pronunciation for a second. Is it Cedrus or is it Cedrus? I've been saying Cedrus for years, and then, I recently just started hearing people say Cedrus. So I had to ask Kyle, the creator, and he says that he's always envisioned it as Cedrus, but he has never corrected anyone that says Cedrus. So I'm gonna try hard to go fully Cedrus, in this video. I'll probably mess up, but just know that, you can really pronounce it either way. Years ago, I had a Project Cedrus mast for kite foiling, and it was my first carbon fiber mast, and I loved it. In fact, it was like my carbon fiber gateway drug. I've never gone back to aluminum. And, I really love the concept of being able to switch up to different systems, even though at the time, I was really only using Liquid Force and Cloud9 surf foils. So I ended up selling it after I got into winging because mine was 36 inches long, and I just quickly felt, at least at the beginning of winging, that was just too long for me. So fast forward to now, Project Cedrus has evolved into just Cedrus, and they have two different evolution masts now, the surf and the wind. The two profiles on these designs are almost like negatives of each other. The surf has like a shorter cord in the middle, whereas the wind has a longer cord. Both models have the same stiffness and strength, and the surf can be ordered from 65 centimeters up until 85 centimeters, and the wind can be ordered from 80 up until 103 centimeters. So they have a 5 centimeter overlap. So I'm going to be talking about the one mast that I've been demoing, the Cedrus Evolution WIND. This one has a length of 80 centimeters, which top to bottom with adapters ends up being about 3 centimeters more than my Armstrong setup that has a 79.5 centimeter mast. So it's relatively close to what I've been riding for over a year, and it felt very familiar as soon as I got onto it. The Cedrus Evolution mast adapter interface uses a combination of M10 pins and these M8 bolts, which create a really strong, secure connection. The Armstrong adapter is kind of like the black sheep of the line. For anyone who rides Armstrong knows that they have a very unique mast and fuselage system, and it's basically impossible to machine an adapter for that. So what Cedrus's answer was to manufacture an entire fuselage out of aluminum. It's similar to Armstrong's S1 system, but their S1 system comes with a slightly longer fuse. You could either get a 65 or a 75 meter fuse, and this adapter or fuse comes in 60 centimeters, which is the size of the standard titanium core fuse, which most Armstrong users ride. It does weigh more, 470 grams versus 790 grams. I mean, that's like 168% increase, But that weight is a necessary price that we pay to ride Armstrong foils with the Cedrus system. Because I have all Armstrong foils and that's what I know, I'm going to talk about the differences between my Armstrong Performance 795 mast and this Cedrus Evolution WIND mast. As I mentioned, the lengths are different. The Cedrus is about 3 centimeters longer overall, but it's still pretty close. Weighing the whole system, mast and fuse, the Armstrong system weighs 2.3 kilograms, the Cedrus WIND weighs 2.65 kilograms. The Armstrong performance mast uses a combination of intermediate modulus and high modulus carbon fiber. Cedrus uses intermediate modulus carbon fiber. I tried to look all of that stuff up, but eventually I gave up because you know what? They're both super stiff. I can't tell the difference between the two. Screw sizes. Armstrong uses M6, Cedrus uses M8 and M10. Armstrong puts a 1-degree rake angle on their performance mast, which I feel kind of annoying because when I paddle on the flat water, it feels a little draggy to me. So I use a base plate shim to nullify that. Cedrus has 0 rake angle, no shim needed. The mast plate size is kind of worth noting. The Cedrus has a much smaller base plate, which isn't the hugest deal, but it means that you can get the Cedrus mast about 2 centimeters farther forward if you have it all the way forward on the track than you could with the Armstrong. So if you're using a board with, let's say, a small mast track, or let's say you have an older board that, you know, feels like your track is just set a little too far back, that Cedrus can give you an extra 2 centimeters of play over your Armstrong mast. The width of the Cedrus mast varies depending on the section. So it's about 1.5 centimeters or like 15 millimeters in the thinnest part, which is the middle section that has the longest cord. And then on either end, it flares out to about 2 centimeters. Down near the fuselage, there's about 7 centimeters of that 2 centimeter width. The Armstrong mast tapers, so it's thinnest on the bottom, and it's about, 14 millimeters, 1.4 centimeters, and goes to over 16 millimeters near the top as it gets bigger. So the Armstrong mast gets thinner and has a shorter cord than the Cedrus mast does at its smallest point. The profiles of the mast are obviously different, and the WIND is unique because it's got its trailing edge that extends in the middle of the mast, and its leading edge is completely straight. The Armstrong mast is tapered, so its thinnest cord at the bottom is about 11.3 centimeters near the fuselage, and then it goes to about 14.5 centimeters near the top. The cord of the Cedrus is about 11.7 centimeters near the fuse, and then in the middle where it's the widest, it's 12.7 centimeters. So it's got 1 centimeter longer cord in the middle. Now, the longer cord on the Cedrus mast is specifically designed for more powered riding, winging, thus why they call it wind. It gives you more stability when you have more speed, which means that you feel more solid when you're going faster, so thus you can push it farther. It gives you a more predictable ride in general. It helps you maintain a better line so you can point upwind higher, and then the added cord length also helps to deter ventilation. The surf mast has a shorter cord in the middle. Does that mean it's going to ventilate? No, but it could. The surf mast was designed for surfing, and at surfing you tend to be going slower. Think more like 10 to 20 miles an hour. So you're just less likely to get ventilation in situations where you're going slower. So with all that said, which one's right for you? It really depends on what you're into. If you're winging and you're into powered riding, speed, racing, cranking up wind, 100% go with the wind. But if you're thinking about using it for surf or maybe downwinding and you want something shorter, then you may want to go with the surf. If you're planning on parawinging, hoping to crank up wind and then cruise downwind, probably go with the wind. But I don't know, parawinging is just so weird, you could probably go either way. So like I said, I've ridden this thing for almost every session in the past 3 months. What do I think? I think the mast is great. There's differences between the Army mast and the Cedrus mast, but in a lot of ways, they ride similar. The Cedrus is totally a solid ride. It's stable. It's forgiving. It's very predictable, right? When I do big, powered turns, I feel totally in control. Because of its longer cord, you can feel a little more like resistance when I try to do super quick direction changes on like a level plane. So I can definitely see how a surf mast would be able to crank a tighter turn. but I don't really turn like that a lot when I'm winging. When I put my whole body weight into like cranking a powered turn, this thing is solid. I feel like it helps steer you through the turn. I'm more on, and I find myself messing up less because it's just got more stability. It's slightly heavier, and I can kind of feel that, but I really only notice that when I jump and I kind of get the foil out sideways. There's a little extra swing weight there. I mean, the fuse does weigh close to 300 grams more than the Armstrong carbon fiber fuse, but that doesn't really bug me, as I'm not really gunning for these like crazy technical jumps. I'm not a pro. Jumping's fun, but it's not my focus, and I can still do railies, and that's really all I care about. It's funny because I waited 3 months for a day with steady conditions to do upwind testing, and when that day finally came, I basically just got the results that I expected. I was consistently pointing it upwind just a few degrees higher than my Armstrong mast, but the whole time I felt like I was going upwind better than the Cedrus. So it was really nice to get that data back and that it matched what I was feeling. If you're looking to race with something that can point upwind really well, this mast is definitely going to be worth checking out. Some other impressions of mine that I just feel like are worth noting. The Cedrus mast like appears to be bomb proof. Like the construction's great. They make them right there in their shop. Their whole thing is they want to make masts that last at least 5 years. And I really just dig that like non-planned obsolescence mentality, you know? I haven't mentioned this about their mast, but they also have this like semi-flexible polymer on the leading and the trailing edges. So what is usually like a hard, kind of sharp edge is just a little softer, making it safer. And they say that it makes it easy to repair too. I also really love the look of the wind mast. They kind of have this distressed checkerboard look going on, which I just think is really cool and stylish. They use a UV clear coat on the outside, which is super resistant to scratches, normal wear and tear. It's also just like super smooth and almost like silky to the touch. I also wanted to point out something that is happening later this year. They're going to be releasing an aluminum version of these Evolution masts. So that means there's going to be more accessible versions of these masts coming out. And I just remember making my first jump into a carbon fiber performance mast. It was just really hard because I hadn't spent that much money on a mast before. So it was hard to justify it. Well, they're going to make it way easier with this aluminum option. So I'm pretty stoked to see them do that. Comparing the Cedrus wind mast to my Armstrong mast, there isn't a whole lot that makes me prefer my Armstrong mast. The weight is a thing, but it's not really that big of a deal in my life right now, you know? And the turning is a little different, but again, that's not a huge factor to me. I really like the fact that I feel like a more solid rider on the Cedrus mast. So, from the beginning, I was wondering what I was gonna do at the end of this demo. You know, I guess I always just kind of assumed I was gonna send it back, but I really dig the Cedrus concept. You know, I love having a performance mast that you can use with any other foil system. Many of you guys know me by now, like I don't really want to be pinned to any one brand. I feel like I'm a free agent, especially with Oceanbound. So part of what I love about this sport is the progression. It's been so exciting to try all of these new things. So sure, I ride Armstrong foils. I love Armstrong foils. I've grown with them. Every line that they've come out with hit my progression like right at the right time. They made me a better rider. But I also love F1 foils. And everyone's raving about code foils. And I'm afraid to try code foils because I'm so heavily invested into the Armstrong ecosystem. What if they're that good? It's just overwhelming to, you know, make that jump. So I've decided I'm gonna keep the Cedrus and I'm gonna use it to try F1 foils, and I'm gonna try unifoils, and I'm gonna try code foils. And if I like any of them, I'm gonna go for it with just like less weight on my shoulders. I see it as an investment into my like free and open future, you know, and I'm totally stoked about that. The only problem is I have a feeling I'm gonna think that Evolution surf mast is pretty rad too. But I'll save that for a future episode. So Thanks so much to Kyle and Kurt and all the good people at Cedrus for giving me a chance to demo this mast. For various reasons beyond my control, it took a lot longer to get this review done than I wanted to, but thank you so much for your patience. And that's all I got on this one. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I don't post my videos on Facebook or on forums. I just let the algorithm do its thing. So if you want to see some more of my videos and you haven't done so already, please consider clicking that subscribe button. Drop me a comment, say hi, feel free to ask me any questions about this mast or anything else. And with that, I hope all of you are doing well out there. I'll see you soon on the flip, and I wish you all an awesome day. Later!